Today I effed up by bringing too much beer to a work party. Two facts about me that are important to this story. One, I was raised by an alcoholic, and two, I don't drink alcohol. Last week, my boss asked me to pick up alcohol for a department party. I told her that I might be the wrong person to ask since I don't drink and hence don't know what people typically like or how much to get. She told me to just get whatever and it'll be fine. And she gave me the corporate credit card. So I tried to think back to my childhood because I don't drink. Oh my gosh. I never hung out at bars in college, and the only measure I had regarding how much people drank was based on my dad. I remembered that it was usually by beer number 6 that dad turned into a pretty cheerful guy. This was so prevalent in my life that my brother and I called it the 6 beer smile. Note, my dad would not always stop at 6. He would sometimes drink 10 or more a day. So I thought, well, Dad drank a lot, so I think we'll be fine with 5 bottles of beer per person, since that's just one shy of a smile. I called my older brother to double check if 5 beers per person would be sufficient amount of alcohol for a work party, and he agreed. Yeah, that sounds about right. The department has 40 people, so I ended up picking about 34 6 packs. Oh my gosh. I got a variety because why not? And yeah, it costs a lot, but this company wastes money on plenty of other things, so I just assumed this was just the cost of a party with alcohol. I loaded up my car. It took a long time. Drove to work and then carried everything to the large conference room that was reserved for the party. The party was yesterday evening. I really only stuck around for a little bit, made appearances to wave hi and say something to the higher ups so they knew I attended, and then I ducked out and went home early. I woke up to some texts from my boss today consisting mostly of, "How much did you buy? The party is drowning," and finally, "There's more in the cabinets?" And yeah, when I initially dropped everything off, I ran out of space on the counter, so I put the rest in the cabinets. I asked a few friends why my boss was freaking out. They started laughing and reminded me that my dad is an alcoholic and I probably should have just gotten 2 drinks per person because that's way more normal for a work party. Great. TLDR, I bought 5 beers per person for a work party and I can only imagine what the result was. But even though I effed up, let's be real, my boss effed up more by asking the non drinker to buy the alcohol. That's amazing. All I can picture is that every single person at this work party got absolutely plastered after this guy left. And that is freaking funny. And the boss was like trying to figure everything out. They're like, why is there so much beer? Why is there so much beer? How many beers have you had? Everybody's had a million beers, and she's like running around. She's like, we need to stop this. We need to put the beers away. No more beers. She's like opening up the cabinets, and there's more. And she's like, why is there so many beers? Oh man, that's great. Let's see what people have said. I'm probably the wrong person for this, boss. Nah, it's fine. Proceeds to be the wrong person for that. I don't know. It sounds like you did great, but the party was a blast. That's awesome. I'm gonna take the headphones off. Thank you. I'll find out Monday for sure. My boss is now silent on text. I didn't respond, so I figure it couldn't have been too bad. Man, I would have just told them, well, I did warn you, lol, or something totally not your F up. I'm definitely going to say that if she brings it up on Monday. I hate responding to her outside of work hours because then she just texts me back, lol. I feel the same way. Sorry, I don't know much to get, so I decided to err on the side of caution. Oh, that's great. You're fine, so don't worry. An extra they can just use for another party. Also, you're not responsible for how much other people drink. That's so funny, man. I want to see the update where this guy's like, everyone ended up sleeping at the office. That's awesome. All right, next story. Found out my 35 male, so the guy reading the story is 35-year-old male. Found out my girlfriend, 32 female, has been lying to me about her finances. I, 35 male, recently discovered my girlfriend, 32 female, of 3 years, has been lying to me about her finances and that she makes about 8K a month after taxes, while I make about 7K a month. She also got a promotion at work at her work a few months ago that she has not mentioned to me yet. To put this into context, we live in a very expensive city because of our jobs, and she refused to pay a significant portion of the rent since we moved in together. She only agreed to spend $500 of her own money on rent. That left me to foot the remaining $2,100 before she moved in. So they've got $2,600 in rent. It's an expensive city. That's actually not that bad. I mean, it's awful when you don't live in that expensive of a place. I would never pay that much, but if they're in an expensive city. Before she moved in, I shared the apartment with a friend, and we both paid $1,300 each. The owner has raised the rent steadily over the last 2 years, and we are supposed to pay $3,000. That means I'll be paying $2,500 a month or $30K a year. We could move to a cheaper place, but that could mean a 3-hour commute, which is not ideal. Yeah, 3-hour commute is awful. My girlfriend continues to refuse to pay more in rent despite her making more, and the financial strain is getting to me. I barely have any savings. I pay for almost everything, and she spends most of her money on her makeup and designer clothes and fancy diners with her friends. When I confronted her about her lying to me about her finances, she told me she makes $60K a year before we moved in. She said, "It's my responsibility as a man to pay the rent, and she can't afford to pay half the rent and also live the lifestyle she wants to live. She also has no financial discipline or any idea where all that money disappears to. I'm sorry I'm ranting, but I just feel frustrated and don't have anyone to talk to about this. I feel so frustrated and drained. I am angry, and I feel I've been deceived by somebody I thought I could share my life with. When I feel totally lost, like I've been a fool the past 3 years, and I've wasted my time dating her when she clearly can't be honest with me. I have tried many times to be reasonable and understanding. It just doesn't work. She is just a leech trying to drain every single penny out of me. I'm starting to have second thoughts on our life together. Maybe we shouldn't be getting married after all. So what do you guys think I should do?" Okay. First things first, if you're in love with somebody, I don't think you're gonna give a crap how much money you're spending on them. Genuinely. If you feel like money's more important than the relationship, then I believe you're in the wrong relationship, personally. Second, if she was not in the picture, you would be paying the full amount of rent. You're not far off from paying the full amount of rent. If I did the math, honestly, you make $6K a month and half of that's going to rent, you still have $3,000 a month. And she's paying for stuff too, I'm assuming. So, I mean, I don't know. It sounds like you need to have a serious talk with this lady. Tell her what's going down, and if she's not willing to split the difference, then she's got to go. If that's the way that you feel personally, that's just what I would do. If I'm in this relationship, I'm in this guy's shoes, I feel the exact same way that he feels. That is the way that I would lay it out. You got to communicate. You got to have a conversation. Somebody said, "Good God, man. Give the landlord notice. Move to a low-cost one-bedroom place and build your finances back up. Lose the parasite. Someone who is an appropriate life partner would not act this way." See, that's also how I feel. He should not be as worried about the money. If she was worth that money, then she would be the love of his life, honestly. But he clearly feels like the love of his life would split the bill with him. So some people don't live this way. I'm the sole provider in my home, and I have no problem paying for everything. I I guess I wouldn't say I prefer it, but it's normal to me. And maybe that's a very conservative way to think and live, but that's just the way that it's always been. My fiance raises our daughter. She homeschools her. My daughter is smart as can be, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Seriously, can you imagine the nightmare of marrying someone like this? She must be hot. Lots of men make that mistake. Perfect comment. And as an aside, just curious, OP, how did you end up finding out she's been making more and she's recently received a promotion? Depending on the response, you may be dealing with someone who's lying about many things, and the only thing you can do is stumble upon the truth. It won't just be given. Who wants to live like that? Yeah, honestly, if she's keeping secrets from you, I think she's got to go. It sounds like she's got to go. There's no way this is the last straw. I think this dude's worked up. He's done. He's been dealing with all this crap little by little, and then he just recently found out that she's also been lying about money. So now he's starting to see everything at face value. I think that that's what's happening. My personal opinion. Next story. That last one, by the way, was from our /relationship advice. The first one is from Today I Effed Up, and we are now moving on to another Today I Effed Up. Remotely trapped a man from Facebook Marketplace over $30. I did read this one ahead of time. This one's funny. I live in a village of like 15 people and got a large lot of Dell 130 watt USB-C adapters really cheaply in a liquidation sale. I've had a marketplace listing for a long time and mostly just scammers. I'm not super motivated to sell them on eBay because there's something awesome about having a lifetime supply of solid Type-C adapters. I'm keeping them everywhere I can. I even kept spares in my car just in case and have given a number to family members. They didn't cost much and occupy a little box on the shelf. Fast forward to today's buyer. He's real, he is serious, and he is 45 minutes away in the nearest city my wife happens to work in. My original plan was to send a new one with my wife to work on Monday, but he negotiated from 40 Canadian dollars to 30 Canadian. 100 retail is what the product usually goes for. And thought she has one in her car, but it was recently opened, not new, sealed in bag. Maybe he can get one earlier and get it done now. My wife said it should be okay, but had an important executive meeting until 2, but 2:45 seemed safe to add a little buffer. I told him to call her when he arrived and my wife would come to the employee's entrance and make the exchange. At 2:20 p.m., my wife informed me that the meeting was going to run way over schedule. I passed the information on to the buyer to reschedule. Well, I guess he didn't see or was a little anxious for a good deal. He arrived and went to the secure employee entrance, and an employee on their smoke break happened to let him in the first set of 2 doors, which required a badge in, badge out access. So this poor guy got trapped in a little 10 by 10 hallway over a stupid power brick, and my wife is in an important meeting, and really, there is nothing I can do, being 2 hours in the opposite direction. So I regret getting my wife involved to do something for me, sending some rando to her work and being part cause of rando drama of trapping a stranger in a box. He eventually got let out of the box. I offered to have her just drop it off at his house, but he has since gone non-responsive. I don't have an address, and he is about to miss that window of opportunity. TLDR, trapped a man escaped. Still have bait, wife unimpressed. I'll probably lose a marketplace star rating. It's so unfortunate. He eventually got out of the... I get it. I managed to grab my neighbor's cat a couple of weeks ago, and he won't take treats from me anymore either. Somebody said I've also caught my neighbor's cat in a raccoon trap, but that's another story. Yeah, beings don't seem to like being trapped. Somebody said, you're the neighbor who stole Ginger? Thank you for feeding him. Please return by 10 p.m. or else. I found Alf's burner. Can't imagine why your neighbor won't take treats from you anymore. Did the guy that let him in not let him out? Or was he not able to know the dude? Okay, so the guy would probably just let him in, and the buyer just stood there. That's so funny. I mean, that's not his fault. The guy got there so early. Employees are required to badge in and badge out of this area. Surely that's a huge fire violation. Yeah, badging out is crazy. Badge out or trigger alarm. I'm glad he didn't take option 2, or my wife would be... my tifu would be more so. Okay, that's funny. That is funny, man. Trap man escaped, still have bait. Wife unimpressed. Oh, that poor guy. All right, next we got, am I the a-hole? For staying quiet after my coworker tried to get me fired, only for my boss's wife to find out and beat her up in the office. Wow, this one's gonna be a lot, I'm pretty sure. So buckle up, buckle in. If you want to skip ahead, feel free. Let let me get a sip. Prepare the voice. All right. I, 33 female, have been in a private relationship with my coworker, Chris, 34 male, for about 3 years. We kept it quiet to avoid office gossip, but things took a turn when Jess, 28 female, joined our team. She became obsessed with figuring out my personal life, constantly prying and making comments like, "You and Chris spend a lot of time together," and "I wonder if there are any secret office couples." At first, it was just annoying, but then Jess escalated. She went to HR, falsely accusing me of using my relationship to get ahead. Chris and I had to sit through an investigation, but we were cleared. Still, the damage was done. People started treating me differently, and the office felt colder. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. A few weeks later, I noticed Jess getting close to our boss, Matt, 42 male. She started going on private business lunches with him and suddenly had access to things she shouldn't. Then, out of nowhere, I was called into HR again. Another anonymous complaint claimed I was creating a hostile work environment. I knew Jess was behind it, but instead of panicking, I started documenting everything. When HR confronted me, I almost exposed Jess's relationship with Matt, but I decided to keep quiet. I figured she'd slip up on her own, and she did spectacularly. Ooh, let's go. One night, our team went to a restaurant after work. Coincidentally, Matt's wife was there with her friends. I did not know that Matt was married. As she was walking by, she overheard Jess loudly joking with a coworker about how Matt was wrapped around her finger and how she was getting whatever she wanted at work. That got his wife's attention. I actually tried to warn Jess. The next morning, I pulled her aside and told her she needed to be more careful because Matt's wife had been right there when she made those comments. I wasn't even trying to be petty. I genuinely didn't want to see this turn into a full-blown disaster. But Jess just rolled her eyes, smirked, and said, "Please, she's too dumb to figure anything out." I shrugged and walked away. I tried. Well, Matt's wife wasn't dumb. She started digging, and a few days later, she stormed into our office, furious. She went straight to Jess's desk, threw a stack of printed out text into her lap. Yes, she had receipts. And then she swung on her. Jess barely had time to react before Matt's wife grabbed her by the hair and dragged her to the ground. Papers went flying, people screamed, and it got ugly fast. Jess fought back, clawing at her, and within seconds, chairs were knocked over, a monitor crashed to the floor, and someone had to physically pull them apart. Security got involved, but by then the damage was done. The cops were called because Matt's wife would not let up, screaming about how Jess was a homewrecker and that she deserved worse. HR immediately stepped in, and it was chaos. Employees were filming, people were panicking, and Matt looked like he wanted to disappear. In the end, Matt was fired for misconduct, Jess was escorted out for violating company policies, and his wife was taken out by security but wasn't arrested since Jess refused to press charges, probably to avoid more embarrassment. As for me, I kept my job, and the office finally had a real scandal to talk about. Now some coworkers say I was being petty by not pushing harder to warn Jess, while others think she got exactly what she deserved. I never intended for things to explode like this, but after she tried to ruin my career, I didn't exactly feel bad. Am I the a-hole for staying quiet after she refused to listen? No, but I will say you are the a-hole for not just straight up telling Matt's wife what was going on. Infidelity is not cool. Shame on Matt for cheating on his wife, and shame on Jess for instigating. But I guess Matt's probably the biggest offender here. Somebody said, good story. If it's true, not the a-hole. Enough warning to be heard, not enough to trigger a round of extra issues. Yeah, she's been in a relationship with her coworker for 3 years, but the post history is she got her current job less than a year ago. Oh, okay. Math isn't mathing. Something's not adding up here. The first sentence of the last paragraph is used commonly by AI. Oh, what? This better not be AI. That's upsetting. It better not be AI. I'm just going to believe that it's real. Yeah, I'm gonna believe that it's real. Whatever. Next, we got another Am I the A-hole? Told my ex-fiance's new boyfriend about her cheating on me. 10 years ago, I was engaged to a girl who I worshipped. I gave her and bought her everything. 6 weeks before our wedding, I found her with one of my so called friends. Turns out she was sleeping with many of my friends and others. Her excuse was I worked too much, which I did, but she shouldn't have done what she did. I've moved on and got therapy, etc., so I hardly ever think about her. Fast forward to the weekend when I see her with a guy I have done business with. He's a good dude, and I want to keep doing business with him. I told him about her cheating on me 10 years ago. I didn't do it out of spite for her, but because if she does it to him and he finds out her and my past, it would jeopardize us doing business. Am I the a-hole? Absolutely not. No. She, obviously, when you get in a relationship, you don't tell a person your entire history, but I feel like you should. I don't know. Maybe she probably wouldn't have told him, and I would like to be told. If you and I know each other, especially through business or friendship or whatever, and I'm seeing somebody and you're aware that that person has been, if it was just like she cheated on them, they were boyfriend and girlfriend for a month or whatever, that's completely different. But they were about to get freaking married and she was sleeping with all of his friends, absolutely not the a hole. Somebody said not the a hole. Revenge is best served ice cold. Somebody said I prefer it hot and hitting them like a freight train. Oh man. I love all kinds of revenge. Why can't we have both? Yeah. I don't think that this person's a hole at all. I think that's great. Next, we got Petty Revenge. This subreddit I just discovered, believe it or not, and it's beautiful. Mess with my dad and I'll turn off your lights. This one is petty and it's so minuscule, but it's very satisfying. A friend of mine's father and some colleagues started a small but very successful white collar business along the lines of design and contract work. He was the last of the original partners still at the firm. A bit over a year ago, he had a small stroke that required several weeks of recuperating, but he has completely recovered. Well, when he returned to work, he was essentially forced into retirement. It was quite nasty. His son is the handiest person I've ever met and has an affinity for gadgets. He'd custom build the office several very large built-in shelves with lighting. He recently admitted to me that he still has control of the lights through an app and has set them to go off and on at random intervals throughout the day and will sometimes turn them off and on repeatedly. I can't imagine this will last forever before they figure out what the problem is, but it's such a funny, small way to get some payback. That's hilarious. I kind of hope that it's become like a ghost within the office and they think that like the spirits there are mad because they pushed the guy out. That's hilarious. But yeah, that one was just a small fun one. Next, we got Am I the a-hole for wanting to leave my girlfriend after she laughed at me and mocked me for sharing a sexual fantasy? This one is not safe for work, so you've been warned. My girlfriend and I, both in our 30s, have been dating for a while now. We have a lot in common, both in our values and interests, and we really care about each other. What did he say? Dating for a while now, so he doesn't specify the time. Recently, we were discussing our sexual fantasies and kinks. I opened up and mentioned that I've always wanted to try being pegged. I know it's weird, and I'm down for the jokes, but her reaction caught me off guard. She laughed in my face and started calling me names. It was really hurtful and showed me a side of her I hadn't seen before. I'm feeling confused and hurt by her reaction, and I'm not sure how to address this with her, or if I even should. I feel a bit childish even posting about this, but it's not something I can discuss with friends. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? Any advice on how to proceed would be appreciated. Obviously, this is another communication situation. That's the biggest thing that I'll harp on about relationships. You gotta have open communication with one another. He just needs to sit down with her and let her know that, hey, she hurt his feelings. And if it's that important to him, then he needs to also let her know that uh, I guess they need to be a little more open with each other. And I don't know. He just needs to let her know that he doesn't appreciate the way that she reacted. That's the bottom line. Somebody said if you can't share your most intimate things with your partner, they aren't for you. You should feel 100% safe around her no matter what your fantasy. So sorry you went through such a horrific experience. Okay, I don't know if it's that dramatic, but yeah, I tend to agree. But I don't know, maybe it was just a knee jerk reaction from her. Again, he's just got to sit down and talk to her. Honestly, that's all that has to happen. Next, am I the a-hole for calling the cops for what my wife called a desk pop? I went to a gun shop slash gunsmith to pick up ammo today in Texas. I was standing at the register and some guy walks in and worker acts like he sold him the gun. Happy to see him. He stands a few feet away from me, turns around, removes a loaded mag from a Honey Badger AR, and pulls the trigger. It is silenced, 'cause Texas, but you still hear an audible pop and ricochet how do you say that? Ricochet? 2 times. I'm standing a few feet away, heart pounding, not sure what to do, and everyone else has the same expression. After my heart calms and I realize it's an accident, but still shook, I quietly ask, can I pay and leave? But the guy just stands there. By now, a few people are looking for the bullet and found the spot it hit on the floor, as well as the spent shell. Since the sales guy isn't moving, I tell him a little louder, can I pay and go before I get shot? And he charges me, and I leave. He should have changed that word. I thought that the guy was like charging at him. On the way home, I start thinking, is this the first time he's done this? Last time I went there, I had my son, 10, with me. What if he was walking around? I decided to call the police, but make sure I told them it was an accident, but I'm concerned about him having a loaded gun without recourse other than, oops, my bad. The more I think about it, I wonder, should I have let it go? But then again, the shot was fired in the direction of my van. What if I ended up with a bullet I didn't see in my car? Am I the a-hole? No. I'm not going to read the update yet. No, you are not the a-hole. Gun safety is a big deal, especially with a freaking AR. In a place like Texas, they probably don't mess around with gun safety. The police should be notified. And I hate to say it, that guy should not be allowed to have a firearm. I'm sorry. If you can't go someplace where you're not allowed to shoot, and even if it's open carry, you're not allowed to discharge your firearm on accident. That's not okay. Not the asshole. Update. Went back today after I realized I got overcharged for the ammo, and it was back to normal, which was what I expected. I was going to ask what came of it, but since there was other people in the store, I didn't want to blow up their spot. I did, however, notice there was a sticky note at the register telling employees to clear guns themselves and the pieces of bullets taped to the paper. I was going to take a picture, but I didn't want it to be obvious. If you guys insist, I'll go take it tomorrow. LOL. I did not take my son for this, who thought I did, and when I do, I make fast visits, and now will be even faster if needed. The sales guy did not fire the gun. The customer came in, cleared his own gun by firing the round he thought was chambered. What? Not the asshole. Someone could have died because of the lack of gun safety. Why did he even pull the trigger? Exactly, you do not pull the trigger. Even if you think the gun's empty, don't pull the fucking trigger. It's stupid. Sorry, not the a-hole. That guy should get in trouble. Today I effed up by making myself scared of Minesweeper. This one's just random and stupid. It's like somebody accidentally like conditioned themselves. It even says, this is so stupid. What's this flare? Can I see the flare? I'm not allowed to see what the flare is. I like to relax by listening to scary stories on YouTube. You know, those deep voice narrators talking about skinwalkers in national parks, glitches in the Matrix. Good stuff for months. I paired this with playing Minesweeper to keep my hands busy. It was a nice little routine. This is very, very random. I don't know anyone that genuinely plays Minesweeper, like recreationally. Super niche. I do thoroughly enjoy listening to those same exact scary stories, though, all the time. Every single time I'm driving in the car, I turn them on. Somewhere along the way, my brain decided that Minesweeper is the horror story. Now, when I open the game, I get this weird sense of dread. My internal dialogue of, okay, either this square is a bomb, or this one, but not both, is unnervingly tense, and when I click on a mine, I flinch. Now I'm trying everything I can to make it not creepy, but I love horror context so much, cry. TLDR, I Pavloved myself into being afraid of Windows XP era game by pairing it with horror stories for months. Somebody said, "Holy shit, same exact thing happened to me, except I was listening to one while taking a shit. I then recognized a pattern on the floor, which I hadn't before, and now every time I take a shit, I notice it and feel dread. P.S. I would recommend Dark Somnium, as he really tells the stories with passion, as he makes his own music for it and even brings in smaller talents for different character voices." That's actually really cool. Oh, somebody said I'm a certified hater. Oh, shoot! My girlfriend is a huge fan of his. So I've listened to a lot of his stuff. I just hate his voice. Seems like a nice guy, though. That's probably why. He's probably jealous of the guy because his girlfriend's a huge fan. That's hilarious, though. Okay, next. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I don't trust her on girls' night? Advice needed. Most of the time, my wife, 36 female, and I, 34 male, okay, so she's older too, are in a pretty good place. Married 5 years, together for 9. Most days are good, but when she goes out with her friends, there's always seems to be things that are just a bit off to me. I don't think she's cheating or anything, but the circumstances around her going out are always odd. She's a stay-at-home mom, so I don't normally say much when she wants to go out and have a good time, but she says she'll be home at one time, then come home half the day/night later. She doesn't really communicate much with me when she's out. To be fair, I don't really call her either. She's omitted parts of her plans because she thinks I won't approve. Has a friend who has lied to me before on her behalf, specifically about their plans. Also, the only friend of her friends group that I've actually met. She can also probably outdrink most men. I don't understand the problem if she's not cheating. We had a bit of a mild fight recently about Galentine's Day. I don't know what that is. Oh, okay, I understand now. Party her friends are throwing. She told me about it a week ago, but neglected to tell me that they were wearing lingerie to this thing. It was only after I saw the new outfit on my bed, that she included that part. Out of anger, I told her I don't trust her or her friends. We do share location for emergencies, so if I wanted, I'd know where she is generally. It's just feels odd sometimes. What should I do here? Important context, I know all of her lifelong friends. We recently moved to a new city. The friends I have not met. She found them within the last 1 to 2 years. She also never comes home the next morning. It's more of a I'll be home by 4 p.m. and then shows up at 10 p.m. She's always home at night. She also never comes home the next morning. Okay, interesting. So he says she doesn't think that she's cheating, but he's basically laying out the idea that she's cheating. Either he's in denial and she is cheating, and he does not want to divulge that out of embarrassment, or he's just being overdramatic. The lingerie thing is definitely a personal preference on his end. He might be more conservative, where maybe she okays that. I personally don't think I would be okay with that, but that's something you have to discuss. You have to communicate with your spouse. Hey, listen, I don't mind you going out with your friends, but it makes me uncomfortable if you're gonna wear that. I feel like that's crossing a boundary. I feel like as your husband, I'm supposed to be the only person that sees you in something like that. And if you're just gonna plaster it's out there for all to see, then it makes me feel like you're undermining our relationship. Something like that. It can be as simple as that. Somebody said I wouldn't get so wrapped up in whether you think she's cheating. In my opinion, this isn't really even about whether she's cheating. You already know that she's lied to you. You already know she's told half-truths and purposefully hid information from you because you would be concerned about it. She has had friends lie to you on her behalf. This is so much bigger than whether she'd cheat. This is about whether she respects you as a spouse, an equal partner, and I think it's fairly clear to see that she doesn't. There you go. This is about trust and so many more things than just what happens in the bedroom. What else isn't she telling you simply because you haven't thought to ask the right questions or because you haven't found the evidence that would lead you to ask? Somebody said trust and honesty. but you still have to question the motivation as to why she's lying so much. So the possibility of cheating is never far away when someone is lying this much and having others lie for her. Regardless, they aren't equals in this relationship. She may have her reasons for behaving this way, but at the end of the day, she's lying. She's still lying to him. I'm also wondering if anyone has ever heard of Galentine's, where everyone wears lingerie. What? Why? And then this guy said, if you address these known issues without pushing for the cause, the truth will show itself. It always does. The problem with lies is they need other lies to support them. Once the house of cards tumbles, there isn't much left covered up. Somebody said, drop that chick. Yeah, it sounds like she doesn't respect you. I like what this guy said. This is 100% where I stand. It also does genuinely seem like she might be cheating. But again, seems like that's the least of his problems in this scenario. All right, last one. I saved the best for last. This one's my favorite out of this whole bunch. It's quite a long one, so I'm going to take another drink of the chai latte. Make sure that my throat can handle all the narrating. Here we go. Petty vengeance is best served loud with a bucket of popcorn and an empty cup of soda. A few moments ago, I received a memory notification from Facebook of the time I went to see Madam Web in IMAX last year. I still have not seen that. Let's not talk about it. And I thought to myself, what an awesome story to share on Petty Revenge, if not just for the laughs. Here we go. Throughout all of 2023 and 2024, I avoided opening weekend of films I wanted to see like The Plague. After the COVID peak and everything started reopening, something clicked in people. I can't properly explain it in any other way other than people decided that it was perfectly fine for them to be an a-hole during a movie and ruin the experience for other people. Except for a handful of movies, I paid the $20 at-home showing of films I wanted to see to avoid any confrontations and that goddamn Nicole Kidman AMC buffer. For those exceptions, I still avoided opening weekend, but I would go see them during the work week. Unfortunately, damn near every film I went to go see was accompanied by an asshole still, and Madam Web was my breaking point. When I purchased the Madam Web ticket, there were only 5 people in the 310-seat auditorium, all of whom were spread apart, and none were in the same row. Perfect. Now, I will admit, I did purchase my seat on the same row as someone else, but we were 10 seats apart, and as it turned out, the other person was an elderly gentleman that I've seen enough times that we had begun getting chummy. A pleasant surprise. That sounds so awesome. What wasn't a pleasant surprise was the couple who came rolling in halfway through the trailers, pulling up on me and saying I was in one of their seats. I whipped my ticket out like a gunslinger from the Quick of the Dead, and sure enough, I was in my row and my seat. How did I know? Because I'm an adult and therefore can read the ticket and letter on the floor and the number on my seat's armrest. When I asked them to check their tickets, I noticed they bought the seat to my left and the seat to my right, which means this couple went to the ticket counter, and when they were asked what seats they wanted, took their finger, pressed on the screen, and selected those seats. And when I confronted them on it, they basically told me that if I didn't like it, I could always move to a different seat. So I got up. I'm wondering if they were like swingers, like just randomly. Maybe this is a game that they play. They're like, let's go see if we could find somebody to have sex with at the movie theater. Because that's so weird. Nobody I know would ever do this. This is like terrorism level craziness. So I got up, left the auditorium, and went to the ticket person and asked them to pull up the seating chart, and sure enough, I was correct. The guy even asked me if my friends found me, and when I told him what was up, his response was, so these randos bought those seats directly beside you? I took a picture of the seating chart, which I can't share on here, unfortunately, and told the guy that you may receive a call about an unruly moviegoer. He knew what I was about to do, and he told me he'd keep an ear out for it. My partner in crime. The gloves were off. I bought popcorn, a drink, and the loudest effing candy I could buy. Throughout the film, I was that asshole. I sat directly behind them. Thankfully, the film was so ridiculously loud and so ridiculously terrible, I wasn't bothering anyone else in the theater. I kicked their seats, was throwing popcorn, I was chewing the candy with my mouth open, I was adding commentary, I was sucking on an empty cup for like 45 minutes. I even took a goddamn phone call, and they just sat there and took it. By the end of the film, they were the first ones out of the theater, practically running, and the old guy gave me a thumbs up, and I bought him an overpriced beverage from their bar. And that was the end of the story. So, Reddit, was I petty? Or was I petty? I do look forward to your comments. I will ask you one question though. If you entered an auditorium and you were one of 6 people in the showing, would you sit directly beside, in front, or behind another moviegoer? What do you consider common courtesy in this situation? I always try to go as far away from people as possible. Unless it's like a packed theater, I refuse to sit next to somebody. I want my privacy. I want to be able to talk shit. I want to be able to laugh. I want to be able to sneak whatever snacks I snuck in. I want to be able to do whatever the hell I want with somebody up my ass or next to me or bitching to me. If somebody bitches at me in the movie theater, it's over, man. I'm standing up and I'm saying something. Can I fucking help you? I paid for this ticket. Shut your fucking mouth and watch the movie or leave. Or, I don't know, call the police because I'm opening my candy. Fuck off. Rarely had that happen, but it has happened. Somebody said I'm not understanding the payoff for the rando couple. What was in it for them that made it more attractive than, say, buying in the empty row or in front or behind? I'm wondering if they always sat in those like, specific seats and they were pissed that that guy bought that ticket or something. Somebody said I obsessed over this question for damn near a week. The only excuse I could find is just because they wanted to be assholes. Yep, assholes don't need a reason to be an asshole. It's in their nature. I think they thought they could bully you into finding another area to sit. Definitely assholes. I might have sat between them. Yeah, I might have not moved as well. I think that would be even funnier. I would have stayed between. When they try to get upset by passing food back and forth, take some popcorn, sip, drink, enjoy the conversation, make them truly sorry. Oh, I would freak out. I would sit in between. They go to pass. I'd be like, "Excuse me!" Lock the popcorn out of their hands. I'm trying to watch Madam Web. Just go full throttle, man. But I don't dislike the way that this guy went about it as well. I think that was hilarious. But anyways, guys, this has been another episode of Reddit Stories. I appreciate you guys for joining me. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you all next time. Good night.